The rain was coming down in relentless sheets that transformed the cracked sidewalks of downtown Detroit into a slick, chaotic maze of shimmering puddles. Neon signs flickered in the darkness, struggling to cut through the heavy gloom of a cold, unyielding night. At the heart of this urban storm stood a small, unassuming diner called Lucky's Corner. It was a modest establishment, far from the glamour of upscale restaurants, but it had a warmth that only genuine kindness could create, a warmth that seemed to defy the chill outside. Inside Lucky's Corner, under the hum of fluorescent lights and the comforting aroma of fried food and fresh coffee, worked a waitress named Tasha Monroe. Tasha was no stranger to hardship. For years, she had navigated the grueling demands of long shifts and meager wages, yet she always greeted every customer with a smile and a heart full of empathy. Her life was a constant balancing act between scraping by and maintaining hope. And in a world that often overlooked the vulnerable, she was a beacon of compassion. That night, as the diner's neon sign buzzed softly in the distance, Tasha finished her final round of orders. Her apron, once crisp and white, now bore the marks of countless hours of hard work, and her chestnut skin glowed with a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Just as she was about to close up shop, Tasha's attention was drawn to a frail figure huddled outside the entrance, a small trembling girl in a worn-out wheelchair. The girl's appearance was heartbreaking. Her dark hair clung to her forehead in damp, unruly strands. Her eyes, large and filled with a mixture of fear and longing, scanned the empty street as if seeking salvation. A tattered coat did little to shield her from the biting cold, and the thin blanket draped around her shivered in the wind. Tasha's heart clenched at the sight, and without a moment's hesitation, she hurried to the door. "Hey there, sweetheart," Tasha called softly as she opened the door to let the warmth of the diner flood out. "Come on in. It's too cold to be out here all alone." The girl hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering with uncertainty, then slowly rolled herself into the diner. Tasha gently guided the wheelchair toward a booth near the old radiator, its feeble heat promising a respite from the storm outside. As the girl settled, Tasha knelt beside her, smiling warmly despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "What's your name, baby?" Tasha asked, her voice as soothing as a lullaby. The girl's response was barely audible, a quiet, hesitant murmur. "Mia," she whispered, the sound trembling as if it were fragile glass. "Mia, that's a beautiful name," Tasha said, her smile deepening. "I'm Tasha. Why don't you sit tight? I'll get you something warm to eat." Without a pause, Tasha disappeared into the cramped kitchen, emerging moments later with a plate of freshly made mac and cheese and a bowl of steaming tomato soup. The kind of comfort meal that reminded her of her own mother's kitchen during long, hard winters. As she set the plate before Mia, the little girl's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope that had been buried under layers of despair. Across the street, parked discreetly under a dim streetlight, was a sleek black Bentley, a symbol of opulence in a world that Tasha and Mia barely inhabited. Inside the Bentley, a man with steely gray eyes and a reputation for ruthless efficiency observed the scene unfolding at Lucky's Corner. His name was Bradley Gaines, a billionaire who had built his tech empire, Gaines Technologies, from nothing but sheer grit and an unyielding belief in the power of numbers. But tonight, as he watched Tasha's act of simple kindness, something stirred within him, a mixture of disbelief and a long-forgotten tenderness. Bradley's connection to this small act of generosity was far deeper than he could have ever imagined. The girl in the wheelchair, Mia, was his daughter, though he had long been estranged from her due to his relentless pursuit of success. Years ago, after a bitter divorce and a tumultuous custody battle, Bradley had lost touch with Mia, retreating into a world where numbers and profits mattered more than personal connections. Yet now, as he watched Tasha carefully feed his daughter the mac and cheese and soup that seemed to momentarily suspend the cruelty of the world outside, he was forced to confront a painful truth. He had allowed his ambition to eclipse the simple human bonds that once defined him. Back inside the diner, Tasha's kindness seemed to work its quiet magic. Mia's face, initially marked by fear and hunger, slowly softened as she took small, tentative bites of her meal. The simple act of nourishment, something Tasha had offered without expectation of reward, ignited a spark in Mia, a spark that shone with the possibility of a better tomorrow. As the evening wore on, the diner gradually emptied, leaving only a few late-night patrons lingering over cups of coffee and shared stories. Tasha, always the compassionate soul, continued to check on Mia, even as the girl's initial apprehension began to melt away. It was in these tender, unspoken moments that the true power of human kindness revealed itself, a power that could transform even the most desolate of lives. Unbeknownst to Tasha, Bradley had already begun making plans. His mind, usually so focused on spreadsheets and market trends, now fixated on the idea of reclaiming the family he had once lost. In a quiet phone call made from the privacy of his Bentley, he instructed his trusted assistant, Megan, to gather all available details about Tasha Monroe, her background, her financial standing, and every small piece of information that might help him understand the woman who had so selflessly cared for his daughter. "I need everything on her," Bradley said, his voice a low rumble. "Find out who she is and why she's so damn extraordinary that she can change my daughter's life in one night." Megan's voice was steady as she replied, "Yes, sir. I'll have it on your desk by morning." Bradley hung up the phone, his mind racing with conflicting emotions. On one hand, there was a part of him that resented the vulnerability he had allowed to enter his meticulously constructed world. On the other, a long-buried desire to reconnect with his daughter and to find redemption for the years of neglect he had inflicted upon her. The seeds of transformation had been sown with Tasha's simple act of kindness, and Bradley knew that his life and the life of his daughter was about to change forever. Meanwhile, inside Lucky's corner, Tasha continued her nightly routine with the gentle precision of someone who knew that every act of kindness had the power to heal. As she wiped down the counters and prepared to close up for the night, she paused at the window to glance out at the rain-soaked street. There, under the muted glow of a flickering streetlight, she caught sight of a sleek black car slowly pulling away. For a fleeting moment, she felt as though she was being watched, a sensation that stirred a quiet curiosity within her. But Tasha, ever focused on her immediate mission, simply smiled to herself and turned back to the tasks at hand. The following morning, the city awoke to a transformed sky. The storm had passed, leaving behind a crisp, clear day that seemed to promise new beginnings. Tasha arrived at work as usual, the memory of the previous night lingering like a bittersweet refrain. Unbeknownst to her, the ripples of that night were already making waves far beyond the confines of Lucky's Corner. In a plush office overlooking the bustling streets of Detroit, Bradley Gaines sat at his expansive mahogany desk, a look of deep contemplation etched into his face. The documents Megan had compiled were spread out before him, a detailed dossier on Tasha Monroe that revealed her struggles, her unyielding spirit, and her unwavering dedication to helping those in need. The more Bradley read, the more he realized that Tasha was not just a waitress. She was a survivor, a fighter, and above all, a person whose heart shone brightly in the darkness. As Bradley absorbed every word, his phone rang. It was Megan again, with news that made his pulse quicken. "Sir, there's been an update from Lucky's Corner," she said. "The diner owner is offering Tasha a permanent position, and she's been nominated for a local community award for her service." Bradley's eyes narrowed as he considered the implications. This recognition, this acknowledgement of her kindness and perseverance, could serve as the perfect bridge to mend the fractured ties within his own family. "Thank you, Megan," he replied. "Keep me posted." Back at the diner, Tasha's life continued along its familiar, if challenging, path. Customers came and went, each leaving behind a trace of their own stories, their own burdens. Yet every time she looked into the eyes of someone in need, Tasha found the strength to offer a smile, a comforting word, or even a simple meal. It was in these small moments that the true essence of her character shone, an essence that would eventually touch the life of someone far removed from her everyday struggles. One chilly afternoon, as Tasha was closing up and counting the modest tips of the day, the diner's door swung open to reveal a man in a crisp suit. His presence was commanding, his aura exuding the kind of authority that few could rival. Tasha's heart skipped a beat as she realized who stood before her, a man she had only glimpsed briefly the night before through the rain-soaked window. It was Bradley Gaines. "Excuse me," Bradley began, his voice gentle yet resolute. "I'd like to speak with you." Tasha's eyes widened in surprise. She had never expected to see someone of Bradley's stature in her small diner. With a cautious nod, she led him to a quiet corner where they sat across from each other at a worn wooden table. "I've been reviewing your story, Tasha," Bradley said slowly, his eyes earnest and unwavering. "Your kindness, your strength, it's something truly extraordinary. I'd like to help you if you'll let me." For a moment, Tasha was speechless. She had always believed that the world of the wealthy and powerful was as distant as another planet, a realm where someone like her could never belong. Yet here was Bradley offering not charity, but an opportunity, a chance to use her resilience and compassion in ways she had never dreamed possible. As the conversation unfolded, Tasha learned that Bradley was the father of Mia, the little girl she had taken in on that stormy night. Overwhelmed by the twist of fate that had brought them together, Tasha found herself torn between her natural wariness and the undeniable pull of destiny. Bradley explained how he had lost touch with his daughter over the years, how his relentless pursuit of success had left him hollow and disconnected. But that night, as he watched Tasha nurture Mia with such gentle care, he realized that something had shifted inside him, a desire to reclaim the warmth and humanity he had long buried under layers of ambition. "I'm not here to buy your kindness," Bradley said softly. "I'm here to say thank you, and to ask if you'd consider joining me in a journey to rebuild what I lost. My daughter, our family, and perhaps even myself." Tasha's mind raced. The offer was as unexpected as it was transformative. It was not the typical charity or savior complex she had heard about in stories. This was real, raw, and laden with the possibility of change, a chance to step into a world where her strength could make a difference on a scale far beyond the diner's faded walls. Days turned into weeks as Tasha pondered the proposition. The community had already begun to rally around her. A local newspaper featured a heartwarming story about her act of kindness, and the diner's regulars spoke of her with admiration. Yet deep down, Tasha wrestled with her pride and her desire for independence. Could she really step into Bradley's world, leave behind the familiar rhythm of her life, and embrace a future filled with both promise and uncertainty? The answer came to her one cool, clear morning when she found Mia, the little girl she had cared for that stormy night, drawing a picture on a scrap of paper. In the drawing, Mia had sketched a house, a warm, welcoming home, with a smiling figure in the doorway. Underneath, in shaky, childlike letters, was written, "Thank you for making me feel safe." In that moment, Tasha realized that her simple acts of kindness were not just fleeting gestures. They were seeds of hope that could blossom into something far greater than she had ever imagined. Determined and resolute, Tasha made her decision. She agreed to work with Bradley, not as a charity case, but as a valued partner whose insights and compassion could help transform a fractured family and mend a broken system. Together, they embarked on a journey that would see Bradley reconnect with Mia, rebuild his strained relationships, and bring a renewed sense of purpose to his sprawling tech empire. Tasha's transition from a humble waitress to an influential figure within the corporate world was not without its challenges. She faced skepticism from board members, subtle prejudices, and the daunting task of proving that genuine kindness could thrive even in the most cutthroat environments. Yet as she stepped into her new role, Tasha carried with her the memory of that stormy night, a night when a little act of compassion had changed everything. The boardroom became her new stage, and she navigated it with the same grace and determination that had defined her in the diner. Slowly but surely, the culture of Gaines Technologies began to shift. Initiatives were launched to support underserved communities. Mentorship programs were established for young talent from all backgrounds. And the company's public image transformed from one of ruthless efficiency to a model of ethical innovation and empathy. Bradley, too, underwent a profound transformation. The man who had once been defined solely by numbers and cold calculations now found himself embracing the messy, unpredictable beauty of human connection. Late-night meetings that once revolved around quarterly reports gave way to heartfelt discussions about work-life balance, community engagement, and the true meaning of success. Mia, once a fragile figure shrouded in loneliness, blossomed under the newfound attention and love from her father, Tasha, and a community that rallied around her. Her laughter became a symbol of hope, a living testament to the transformative power of compassion. As time went on, Tasha's journey became a beacon for others. Stories of her rise from the humble confines of a diner to the corridors of corporate power spread like wildfire on social media. Her image, smiling confidently in a boardroom, her eyes reflecting both the hardships of her past and the promise of her future, became synonymous with resilience and the triumph of the human spirit. Interviews, feature articles, and countless testimonials flooded in, each echoing the sentiment that Tasha's story was a reminder that no matter where you come from, the power of kindness and determination could rewrite the rules of the game. In one particularly memorable moment during a televised town hall meeting, a young employee asked Tasha, "How did you stay strong in a world that always tried to break you?" With a calm smile and eyes that held the wisdom of someone who had seen too much yet refused to be defeated, Tasha replied, "Every act of kindness, every moment I stood up for someone in need, added a little bit of light to my life, and sometimes that light is enough to guide you out of the darkness." The ripple effects of her journey were felt far beyond the walls of Gaines Technologies. Community centers sprang up in neighborhoods once neglected, inspired by Tasha's example of compassion in action. Mentorship programs flourished, providing opportunities for young people from all walks of life to pursue dreams they had once thought unattainable. And for Bradley, the transformation was deeply personal, a reminder that true wealth was measured not in dollars, but in the quality of relationships and the lives one touched. Years later, as Tasha stood beside Bradley at the ribbon-cutting ceremony of a new community center named the Monroe Foundation, dedicated to supporting education and career development for underprivileged youth, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The memory of that rain-soaked night at Lucky's Corner, when she had taken a chance on a little girl named Mia, was etched into her heart like a sacred promise. It was a promise that kindness would always prevail, that no one was too small to make a difference, and that even in a world dominated by power and wealth, the human spirit could rise above adversity. Bradley, now a changed man with a softened demeanor and a renewed sense of purpose, joined her on stage. "Tonight," he announced to the cheering crowd, "we celebrate not just the opening of the center, but the remarkable journey of a woman who dared to believe that one act of kindness could change the world." Tasha's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she looked out at the faces of those gathered, a tapestry of hope, resilience, and boundless possibility. In that moment, the legacy of a humble waitress, a determined billionaire, and a once-forgotten child intertwined to form a powerful narrative of transformation, a narrative that would inspire countless others to stand up for what was right, to embrace their own inner strength, and to never underestimate the impact of a compassionate heart. Join us as we witness the extraordinary journey of Tasha Monroe, whose simple act of kindness not only fed a hungry child, but that also sparked a revolution of empathy and change that rippled through an entire community. This is more than just a story of survival. It's a testament to the power of compassion and the belief that every single act of generosity has the potential to alter the course of destiny. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video for more inspiring stories of transformation and hope that remind us all that even the smallest gesture can light the darkest of nights.